Ruta here with two beautiful Emery Paul dahlias, which we'll somehow keep in the screen. Um, and I have just a few updates. It looks like I will probably be spending every other week in Brooklyn as my guy decides on what treatment he's going to get. And uh, as I switch off with his relatives and so on. He is doing well and walking, 3 to 4 miles a day, as am I. And I am very fortunate to have two lovely women that I'm mentoring. Um, One of them has promoted me to the um, role of life coach. And she's a young single mother. And the other one is a high school sophomore, and I'm paying her to help me with the weeding, which is a great relief because it's been a rainy summer and the weeds will just be out of control. And so I have my handyman guy is going to do some mowing for me and keep things looking under control. And I'm going to be able to pick away at the weeds. And later on, after the frost, I'll be digging up my dahlia bulbs. And so this is the rewarding part of life. I saw my pair of hummingbirds yesterday. They're probably getting confused by the extra warm weather, but they probably will be leaving to fly south. I think they go to the tropics in the wintertime when it's winter here. So that's like a little curated woods update. As those of you know who have read my book, In the Curated Woods, True Tales from a Grass Widow, I document a lot of the garden. Let's see, and I think I started this book 2 years ago in October. I mean, here's the picture I have in the preface, and let's see. Oh, I'm looking for this. This is really a lot like the garden looks right now, with the marigolds and the mystic spirits and the sedum. Yes. So that book is from iUniverse. It was published in 2022, and you can get it through Amazon. It's an ebook and a soft cover. Both of them have my 50 nature photographs. I am continuing to do nature photography as a healing hobby. I suggest mind-body movements such as Feldenkrais physical therapy and nature photography and taking walks, especially with the Lecky sticks, for anyone who is experiencing the distress of cross-sex ideation. I'm just watching a few detransitioner channels like Alexander L., who I think is Norwegian. These are on YouTube, and Sarah Rachel, and Tulip R. It's tulip spelled with two L's and then capital R, all the same word. That's Richie Herron. And there are, I think there's one called Rose. And so I really think, just giving them a like, giving them inspiring comment, you will get better in time, all this kind of thing. I put a comment under one of them, it looks to me like it takes about 5 years. And for this, reassertion of your natal sex and to recover from all the regretted decisions. I pose that if the psychologist said that cross-sex ideation is a very difficult psychiatric illness to have, to wish that you had a different body, etc., that is a very real and distressing feeling. However, many people come out of that, and just like other mental illnesses, it might take 5 years of various kind of work. going over what you've experienced in the past, what there was in terms of abuse, trauma, sexual assault, and that type of thing. And how can you feel stronger? Because, all of those things you take with you. Even if you alter your body, even if you decide to have sex trait modification surgeries. I really honestly believe if we used the Hagen lexicon, that, the thinking about this would be quite different. And I'm just going to, for example, when you start erasing the actual existence of women by saying you could be non-binary, or saying you could be a man who thinks he's a woman and then you can come to a women's conference, this is what happens. These are comments from attendees of the Grace Hopper Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematical Fields. Have you seen how so many men crashed the Grace Hopper conference? It's meant to be a conference for women, but men now go there and say they're non-binary or trans, and they're taking away opportunities from women. It's sickening. This is a person who attended and saw how these men were in their application identifying and then showing up with whatever it took to get in, the wristband or whatever, and then crashing into women to be first at the table, and then saying that they're non-binary or trans, and I think these women are going to have to realize that making accommodations for so-called true trans leads to all kinds of problems. And I will tell you from my ex-husband, who is still in a tech field and so-called transitioned when he was in his 30s, not ever dealing with the trauma and abuse that he experienced in childhood. He actually had privilege. They wanted to hire him in these basically all white, almost all male tech subdivisions of a museum or tech companies, database management companies. They thought they were getting diversity. So it's really interesting how these people claim that they are promoting diversity in a really non-diverse setting, because if you go by biological sex, they're all men. And I know that for 30 years, this is 25 years, something like that, that Nettie has been working at this database management firm that services major museums all over the world and has like a pronouns special thing, which is not really what their product is. And they do all these workshops, as if they were thoroughly racially integrated, and they're not. So he had what I call, and what a lot of us are calling now, trans privilege. So, and I think that, the justification for a women's collegium of women who are in careers with science, technology, engineering, and math has to do with how do we deal with these guys who don't know how to act around women, because these fields have been so male dominated, because there was some sexual harassment going on. These guys were hitting on the women attending the conference, and they were also sort of menacing to them, sort of harassing them, physically, like bumping into them, pushing them out of the way. So another attendee said some men are suddenly fake identifying with she, her pronouns to go to Grace Hopper. And then this person makes conjecture about how they can't otherwise find jobs. And I don't know that. There was also information about how these men who were from somewhere else were talking to each other about the women, it appeared, in their own home language, in their own mother tongue, so that it would be hidden that they were saying insulting things at a women's event. So it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work, and women have needed to hold the line for 30 years. The "it's so rare" thing just doesn't work anymore. That is what they tried to sell me and gaslight me with when I discovered my then husband was out there lying to me about where he was, cross-dressing, accepting drinks in bars in the Village, I think 8th Street in Manhattan, and in gay bars because that's where he thought he felt safe. Well, you know what? Analyze, why do you feel safer in a gay bar? Maybe it's because you're a gay man. And that should be something that really is explored before you go into all this Blanchard protocol, 2 years constantly da da da. Because he never did 2 years constantly da 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 before he went off and had the surgeries in 1996. He did not tell our children to stop calling him daddy until after he had the surgeries. And so of course the children were traumatized, and he couldn't change his mind. I honestly think he does love our children and did love our children, beside his narcissism, despite his narcissism. And I think if he had really known that they would cry and that they would become depressed, and that our older one had 3 times suicidal ideation, I really think maybe he would have reflected about, why do I have these feelings about myself? Why am I attracted to men? Because that's what was written in his 3 sketchbooks that were filled with his ruminations while he was doing this. And see, the thing is, like, okay, so he sits there at a bar and writes stuff down after scurrying around on the streets, and look, not going to pass. That's me with on let's see, on this side. That's me with short hair. And I decided to have short hair because I wanted to get into a certain dance company, and I thought they didn't like the romantic long hair. Oh, and after I got that haircut, he said to me, "What have you done to your head?" He was actually like fantasizing himself as me with my down to the middle of my back hair. And he couldn't take it. There, I was like, that's the young Uta. And the reason I did this vain thing of having a painting out of a photograph is because the photograph was taken the summer before I met Nettie. So it's pre-Nettie. Okay, so quickly, Doctors Group, which is the American College of Pediatricians, is criticizing the American Academy of Pediatricians for, not examining the poor, low-quality studies that are supposedly telling the physicians of the world that these surgeries and body modifications, sex trait modifications, as well as exogenous hormones are supposedly good for people all along the long run. For example, Renee Richards doesn't say this publicly, but privately to his own patient, this person, Renee Richards, who was called Richard Raskin previously, said he regrets it all to his eye care patient, who is my friend, coincidentally. I trust her. She wouldn't make this up. You can't make this up. And he said he regretted all of the lawsuits that he engaged in, and he doesn't support men being in women's sports because he had sued this tennis organization to play. And I want you to know, the women quit. There were several female tennis players. This is back, I think, in the 1970s. Several female tennis players who walked off the court. This guy is 6'2", and he has a mean back serve or something. backhand, whatever it's called. Uh, and uh, I think he let himself get beat maybe by Martina Navratilova, or he was Martina Navratilova's coach or something. Like, it was all, the thing is, it gets for those guys, Bruce Jenner, Richard Raskin, even Levine, Richard Rachel Levine, it is about the celebrity that comes with it. That's what it's about. What if we had celebrity for someone who says, you know what, I think in my head that I really should have been the opposite sex. And, when conception happened, it didn't quite go right. What if then people celebrated that person by saying, you know what, this is very, very hard to feel that way, but give yourself 5 years and do Feldenkrais physical therapy, take up some gardening, figure out a community garden, figure out a place where you can make a difference in the world and support butterflies and bees and feel good about yourself. If you have a faith tradition, start praying. If you you should do Feldenkrais physical therapy. I might have said that already. And really find a way to connect your mind and body, because whatever it is that you're running away from, that's not going to go away with the body parts that the surgeon is going to take off. And these surgeons just want to play God. That's what they want to do. So, okay, now the American Academy of Pediatricians is supposedly doing a review of clinical research. There are many, many skeptics out there, like Dr. Stephen B. Levine and Dr. Julia Mason, who are saying they're going to take their time and drag their feet. But we've also got Nebraska banning this, and I think it's surviving a legal challenge. Nebraska is doing the Florida thing, and I think the Missouri thing of banning any kind of sex trait modification surgeries and exogenous wrong sex hormones in underage patients. And what the American College of Pediatricians is saying is there is a lack of any significant clinical evidence and a lack of long-term positive outcomes for children treated with puberty-blocking drugs, sex hormones, and transgender interventions. I do think it's better to say that they are sex trait modification surgeries. And be sure to get your old coffee table books ready to exactly cut out the paragraphs of this information and stick it in there and put it out in the world like a message in a bottle. I call it Magazine Graffiti. I'm hoping this is recording because my screen froze. Now I'm going to go do my Magazine Graffiti. It's fun. It really is. I recommend it.